The Bills are set to start the preseason. How will and how should Sean McDermott handle the starters? Plus the players we can't wait to see on the field. And are injuries a concern as we close in on the opener? That's all coming up on this week's edition of the Buffalo Plus podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus channel presented by Canadips, Mike Catalana, Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. The Bills getting ready for their first preseason game of the summer on Friday. That game will be in Detroit. Mike, we heard Sean McDermott say today that Josh Allen will not be playing against the Lions on Friday. What do you make of that, and how much time do you think fans can expect to see from Allen this preseason, if any?
Yeah, I'm not surprised at all. Certainly that he's not playing in this first game for many reasons, including the O-line's not healthy. A couple of his wide receivers are banged up. I don't think Josh Allen's going to play a lot, if at all, in the preseason. I know Sean McDermott wants to get his team ready. He's very much the guy that likes to be prepared. But there is also that risk element in the preseason. I think you're going to see coaches around the league be hesitant to put their top-line players in preseason games, maybe a limited amount. I'm going to set the number at 10 plays for Josh Allen, 10 plays in the preseason, and I'm going to take the under, Dan.
Well, it was when we talked about this just off camera, I thought it'd be 2 series, because I think if the series goes long, Mike, if he gets 2 series, they may be 6-7 play series. So I'll take the over. I think Josh Allen probably plays maybe 2 drives. I don't think he gets a third in that second game. I don't know how they're going to handle this. Like Mike, like you said, will they treat game 2 like what we used to see game 3 of the preseason? Will that be the quote unquote dress rehearsal? I also think this is the chance where all of last season it was get the starters ready, get the starters ready, get the starters ready. When they did have training camp, all of those snaps were taken by the starters. Like, I really don't think that this Bills coaching staff got to break down their depth, their second and third team, because they were so focused on getting the starters ready last year. So this is the time when, look, Jake Fromm hasn't looked good in this training camp by any means to our eyes. So like this will be his first chance, I think, for the coaching staff to see him, seeing as Sean McDermott says, live bullets. Like I think he plays a half. I think Joe Webb plays a quarter, and I think Trubisky plays a quarter in the first preseason game in Detroit.
Yeah,
Joe Webb. That was good.
Davis Webb, but Joe Webb's great.
We can bring back Davis Webb. He was entertaining.
Yeah.
I would say, Dan, I agree with you. Like, I think 10 plays, the under on that is pretty surprising to me, just because, look, I get it. A lot of people are saying
coffee at the station, Mike.
I like that. But I know, and some people are saying, hey, well, they didn't have the preseason last year. Okay, yeah, they didn't have these games, but still, now everyone has these games to kind of get ready. I think it'll be a couple series like you think, Dan, because let's be real. You don't want to risk injury at all. That's obviously the concern. But at the same point, you want Allen to feel comfortable before you head in.
Well, that's the thing, too, is that there was no preseason last year, and this offense came out of the gates on fire.
No one had preseason last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm just saying, like this offense did it. Did there are a lot of times where we said like, oh, the defense is ahead of the offense at this point. Not the case here in Buffalo. The offense looks great. Josh Allen has picked up where he left off. At this time last year, we were not talking about Josh.
Yeah, no, we weren't.
Being this guy that's going to get $258 million contract extension, like he has, but. We've all been at training camp. It's not open to the public. There's only been 2 that have been open to the public. He's looked really good in 95% of the practices, guys.
Yeah. No,
well,
I agree with that.
Jenna and Dan, here's my point. And I know we're going to talk about the injuries, but, Deion Dawkins isn't ready to play. The wide receivers are banged up. Like, what are we getting by putting Josh Allen on the field in a preseason game? Well, certainly this game with the wacko head coach in Detroit, who knows what they're going to try to do. They'll probably be kicking onside kicks in the preseason, taking kneecaps out in the first game. So that doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Then you go to Chicago. Okay, maybe that is a moment. I don't think anybody's playing in the Green Bay game. I just think it's going to play out that way. And I think a combination of things keeps Allen off the field. Let me ask you this. You guys are watching as reporters covering the team. If you're a fan watching this team, what are your thoughts when Josh Allen is on the field in a preseason game?
As a fan?
As a fan?
Yeah.
I was just saying for a reporter. As a fan, I'm like, I want to see a couple series because I want to see.
Nope.
I would want to see him
Nope.
play. Okay,
Nope.
first of all, you can't
Nope.
tell me no. This is my opinion.
Nope.
Are
Nope.
we having
Nope.
a Jenny Taft situation?
Oh my God. You know what that makes me?
You're not Skip
Yeah.
Bayless.
No, the reason I'm saying no is what do you want to see in the preseason from your starting
No
quarterback?
injuries.
Him on the sidelines with a baseball hat on. You're just like, just go out there and play. If he is, get off the field and be fine. Nobody wants to see that in the preseason. And I know that's fans. That's not the coaching staff.
Yeah.
But Dan, you said it. Look at how Josh has looked. Are we really going to sweat out these 2 series in the Chicago? Maybe that's what it is. I'm on the side of less is more. Get ready for the first game against the Steelers.
Okay, I agree that less and more, but what is none?
That's fine. Look at who's not going to play in the preseason. There's going to be there's going to be a series of quarterbacks who don't play.
Okay.
I don't know how much Mahomes is going to play. Rodgers isn't going to play at all. I don't think Dak Prescott's going to play much, if at all, in the preseason, those kind of guys. And that's one guy coming off an injury, one guy who's won a Super Bowl, the other guy who's, complained all off season for different reasons. I don't think these starting quarterbacks are going to play a lot.
Well, now we're at the point, too, where Josh is in that caliber.
Yeah.
Whereas before, like Dan said, when we were here a year ago, it wasn't a $258 million conversation. It was what keeps Sean McDermott up at night, and it's Josh Allen's development. So now we are in a different, I'd say, stratosphere compared to where we were last year. But I will say, I feel like if that were me, I would want to get a series under my belt or 2.
Okay.
As a player, I would...
Still maybe less than 10 plays.
That might be. Maybe it's just red zone work. I don't know. But at the same point, again, right now with guys being, out there and having the injuries that are going on, I wouldn't want to do it. But at the same point, maybe a couple plays, Dan.
Yeah, it's fun. I always love it when we give the analogy of if it was me, it's like, yeah, if it was me, I'd probably take my 150 guaranteed and go sit on the couch somewhere. But I understand your point, Jenna, where you do need something. Like, I feel like it'd be a lot to go from the Kansas City game to the Steelers game. I don't think, Mike, I know you. Because week 1 is important. Getting off to a good start is important.
Let me tell you guys a little secret here. Okay. For 20 years, I did the preseason games. So I could pretend that those reps were really important. Okay? I would tell everybody that. It's what we would say. Got to get the starters out there. Got to do blah, blah, blah. No. They can get their reps. They can get themselves ready. They will be ready for the regular season. If that really was the case, it'd be like the old days. They'd play 2.5 games in the preseason. And that would be the case. I'm telling you, I don't think it's that big of a deal. And by the way, Jenna, you are entitled to your opinion on this show, unlike that Fox show.
I know. Don't worry. You're not Skip Bayless. We would let you know if that was the case. All right, then what do you want to see from maybe some of the other guys, some of the other starters?
I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm going to say it leads into my other point when not other starters. I think I want to see Mitch Trubisky with some level of whichever first string guys or guys who play is out there, right? Because the guy needs reps. And what do we want to see out of Mitch? You want to be able to say, because if Mitch Trubisky's playing, it's either mop-up duty or not, he's out there with the Bills' top players.
The thing we won't talk about.
Yeah.
Right. So what I'm saying is it's great to see Mitch out there get some snaps, learn the offense. I get that. But, I'd like to see him a little bit with Gabe Davis. I'd like to see him with Dawson Knox. I'd like to see him with those guys. Why not? Right? That, to me, maybe is more valuable because Josh has had rep after rep after rep with these guys, and Trubisky hasn't. And you want that guy to at least have something to be ready for playing with more of the 1s and 2s, if that's the case.
There are a couple of guys that I'm really keen on. I know we've kind of mentioned it and touched on a little bit of the injuries. We'll touch on them more coming up in a little bit. But a guy like Spencer Brown has been a very interesting case for me just because, look, Deion Dawkins is just starting to jog. I don't think people understand that how far to our naked eye. I'll take the quote from Rex Ryan. I'm not a doctor, but I'm just getting to see Deion on his interactions, like he looks like a guy that still has a ways to go. Now there is still a month before the week 1 and they're taking on the Steelers. But Spencer Brown right now, if they had to play a game right now, Spencer Brown would have to be blocking TJ Watt. And that is a little scary to me. So while as freakishly tall and large as Spencer Brown is, I asked him today, like, are you excited? And he even joked around that it's been so long he doesn't remember his pregame routines. He's like, wow. I'll get some butterflies about a kickoff, but like right now I'm just kind of calm and stuff like that. And again, it's still 48 hours away from his first NFL real action. So that's one of the pieces where I love Spencer Brown, I think, for depth. I think him and Tommy Doyle, I think, set up the Bills long-term. But right now, the fact that Deion Dawkins is not anywhere close to putting pads on, is lightly jogging, concerns me to some respects. That who knows what the lingering effects from COVID are. That's the big question that the whole world's trying to ask. And right now it's affecting Josh's blind side, which is concerning to me. I'm not saying I'm slamming the panic button and saying you got to trade for a left tackle. I'm just saying I don't want Spencer Brown, even though he's had decent moments at camp. I think that, players have spoke highly of him, Mike, saying that, he's just a big guy. When he gets his hands on you, he's physical, all of those things. Still don't want him starting week 1. And as of right now, he's kind of penciled in. Yeah. So I'd like to see something from him. And that is so hard to see. Linemen in running games in training camp are the two things that smart people have told me. Like, it is very hard to tell watching a practice. Like when Devin Singletary goes 20 yards and breaks a run and somebody goes, oh, what a great run. Somebody may be trying to cut him. Like they would be trying to hit him and tackle him and wrap him up. They're not doing that at training camp. So like that and one-on-one lineman drills are what we will really start to see in the preseason game.
Yeah, Jenna, before you continue, I wanted to say that's part of my thinking on Allen playing. Deion is not ready, and he won't be playing this week, and he won't be playing next week in the preseason. And I'm not saying that means Spencer Brown can't go out there and you can't call some plays for Josh to just, get going a little bit, run a few. It's fine. It doesn't mean you got 7-step drops and having him hanging in the pocket, but I just don't know if that's the road they want to go in the preseason until those guys are back. It's been encouraging to see Deion go from not being on the field. Then we saw him the next day walking around with just a mask, no uniform. Then that was the case where he was out there doing a little bit. And as you're saying, Dan, he's trying to get – but, this is this is a concern. And, this is not for anybody's political thoughts on whatever this is. This is us looking at this football player, tremendous athlete, a guy who's one of the top players on this team, and he doesn't appear to be close to being back playing at the Deion Dawkins level.
Mike and I were talking about it when we were actually at camp earlier this week when we said we saw Deion for the first time. And that was, again, the first time we had seen him all summer. You think about it, so much work goes into the offseason and staying in shape and getting your endurance up and getting, your weight up, all of those things, because those things tend to fall in terms of your weight tends to fall during the season. And it's so important to be at that cardio level and to have to take, realistically, a big of a step back as Deion would have to take when he was just, literally right on the sidelines. Like that was all he could do the day we were there. It definitely is concerning. So I understand the importance of seeing what Spencer Brown can do, but that's also a big ask. And look, we are a month away from the season starting, so there is still time for all of those things to kind of grow and for Deion to get his feet wet again. But that is something that I think a lot of fans will be looking at because it could be a scary situation.
And that was, I was up at practice today and I did we try and do post-practice recaps. You guys, the audience here and the subscribers seem to really like that. And I just said, my thing today was on injuries. And I'm not saying any of these things are major injuries. It doesn't seem like anybody's going to miss time, anything like that. Like before everybody's like, why are we talking about injuries? Like, just pump the brakes. All I'm saying is that today, 4 starters on the Bills offense either didn't practice or didn't finish practice. Again, we are talking on August 11th, but Emmanuel Sanders left practice. He has missed time earlier this week. Stephon Diggs will be out pretty much this entire week. He was at the red and blue scrimmage. He did not practice Monday. It appeared with a knee injury. He has not practiced since. Obviously, they're off tomorrow as they travel to Detroit. He's not going to play. We will see him possibly next Sunday, as well as Zach Moss, who's a guy who battled through an injury, lost time at the end of last season, trying to get back, and now has a hamstring injury. And as Sean McDermott says, he's day-to-day, which is what everybody is ever that has ever had an injury in the Bills organization under Sean McDermott. Cole Beasley fractured his knee, and he was like, he's day-to-day. He's day-to-day. Like, okay. Like, so, like, who knows how severe Zach Moss's hamstring injury is? But, like, again, those are 4 guys that should be starting for the Bills week 1 that are missing time because of probably what we consider, minor to nagging injury range. Again, not a doctor. Not a doctor.
I feel like it's more, I would like to think it would be more of a
maintenance,
conservative approach. But yeah, regardless of that, I mean, look, the season is long. We're about to hit the first week of preseason games, but at the same point, it's something you need to pay attention to because this is your team. This is your window. And you want to make sure guys are healthy heading into week 1.
And it leads into what we were talking about was, okay, downside. Deion's not out there. We get to see Spencer Brown. Valuable reps for a guy that hasn't played. He's going to get a lot of time in the preseason. Then you look at other guys. So you mentioned in the backfield, right? I think we'll see a little more of Matt Breida. We want to see what he can do in this system. And I think the guy Bills fans love. I had a friend of mine come up to me today and go, I cannot wait to see Antonio Williams play. And Dan, you're doing a story on him. Pretty soon you'll be able to see it here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Interesting guy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's probably the busiest Bill on the roster. We'll go into more. Pretty much, he was cut last year and thought his football career was over. Got involved in NASCAR, got re-signed by the Bills, became a cult hero in week 17. And then 2 months ago, he was sitting on the couch with Christian Wade and started an e-gaming team. So he's juggling all those things. He explained to me, I go, like, when do you sleep? And he's like, at night sometimes. And he was like, he goes, it's like a clock. He goes, I split everything into fourths. He's like, I got e-gaming, I got NASCAR, I got football. And then he's like, you got to have some me time. It's like Jenna's clock. It's like 30% is like work and the rest is just eating. Like it's just food.
I literally, no, that's about right. I do working out, watching TV, eating, and then a little sliver is work. That's about right. That's fair.
No, but I want to see him on the field too. I mean, everybody got, excited when you saw what he did in that game. Can he really have a role? It's a thing to say, right? You see him in the preseason. These are the games we want to see. We didn't get to see that last year. We didn't get to see it from any of these guys. So while there are some injuries, can guys take advantage? At the wide receiver position, we talk about those guys being banged up. Dan, you're right. They're going to be super cautious with, when we're talking about Diggs. And if anything's up with Beasley, right, they're going to be really quiet with those guys. You're going to settle them down. So who do we get to see? Isaiah Hodgins, right? We're going to get snaps out of him. I think Isaiah McKenzie's going to get time moving him around. That's what he showed he can do. I think a guy like Duke Williams is going to have to show a lot. Don't you believe in this? During preseason. If he's going to make this roster, because Jenna, the guy you did a story on today, is part of a loaded roster at wide receiver, and fans are going to want to see him too.
Yeah, Jay Kumaro is someone I talked to earlier this week. He's a guy that's kind of floated around the NFL. He's 29. We know his nickname is incredible, Touchdown Jesus. He's got the long flowing hair at the back of his helmet. I love this. I asked him, like, what's the deal with the hair? Like, why'd you grow out? He literally just said, yeah, I just thought it would look really cool to have long hair. It's like, it's so simple. You do you, dude. He definitely likes to snowboard. He seems like he's big into that. But no, he's someone that he's 6'4", so he's a bigger target, but he's also quick and he's fast. Yeah. We talked to Dane Jackson about him, and he said he's kind of surprisingly fast. And when I was able to talk to Kumaro, he said that's like one of the misconceptions about him is that he's a slower guy. But he's someone that's been on the practice squad for the Bills. He's, like I said, he's floated around the league, but he's someone that during camp, he has showed that he can catch essentially everything that's in his radius. But can you do it, Dan?
Yeah, he's been the training camp star. What's that, Mike?
Is he sneaky athletic?
Yes. because he's a white wide receiver. There we go. There we go. We'll say it. Like Jordy Nelson was like fast. Like he was faster than people thought. It's like, yeah, he's just fast, period. Like what it is. Yes. Kumaro is having the training camp that every single person, every Bills fan wanted Duke Williams to have, wanted Brandon Riley to have, wanted these training camp stars to really take off. But with Kumaro, it's different. This is a guy that has seen NFL time, that other teams have wanted him. Yeah. There's kind of been, weird practice squad fighting over Jake Kumaro. Like multiple teams have got it. Aaron Rodgers has mentioned him in a press conference. Like that was how he really kind of got his name around here. Plays one game, catches one pass. It's a touchdown with Denver. Quietly goes about his business. Jenna, I think if you talk to him, it's an unreal story. And he kind of tells it like this, like, yeah, I live in a hotel room and that's just what it is.
He's lived in a hotel room for this entire year.
It makes hemp bracelets.
He does make hemp bracelets. That was on his fun fact page.
Yeah. And Jenna,
think about that. He's someone that's, he's a guy on the bubble. He doesn't know if he's going to get cut.
Oh, he's not in the bubble. He's not in the bubble.
No, I'm saying like before, because of how loaded and stacked. Yeah, how loaded and stacked this wide receiver room is. He hasn't gotten a full place in Buffalo because he's like, I don't know. He has to prove himself every day. He says he knows he's an underdog, and it takes every day showing up.
Deanna, what I was going to say is the making of the hemp bracelets leads us right into...
I don't know.
Our sponsor.
Oh, our sponsor. Yes. Canadips. Okay, folks. The hype is real. We're all big fans of Canadips, honestly. Yes, we want to thank them for sponsoring today's podcast as well. And they have something really cool going on. It's called the Game of the Year. So essentially, Canadips is a CBD company, and they have little CBDs. It's like a pouch, almost like a dip, but there's no nicotine, there's no tobacco in it, and it just has CBD, so it's very relaxing. All right, so the Game of the Year, which is really cool, is one winner is chosen by August 31st. You have to enter and just go to candidipscbd.com, click on the link, or visit Candidates Made Instagram page. And essentially you get one fan for the experience, gets to go to any regular season NFL game, airfare for two with luxury hotel lodging and great seats for the game. So it's you win, you get a +1, you get to go to any NFL city for a game. They put you up, they get you sweet tickets. It's a win-win. And again, we talked about how many great games the Bills have. Nashville, Tampa in December. There's a lot of options. So be sure to go to candidipscbd.com to enter, or the official Candidips Instagram page.
Yeah.
That would be really fun.
Good read.
Thanks.
And you know what? If people win, they get to go to the game. They can look down the field to wave to either one of you two. We're going to be down the sideline.
They're going to be so relaxed if they have a candidate in.
Shooting the game, and I'll be up in the press box having a coffee, waving, making sure everything's going all right.
Mike just sits in the press box and literally looks down on us. Literally and metaphorically looks down on us.
One last thing, finishing up on the Kumaro story, because I think it is worth pointing out that like Kumaro was definitely on the outside looking in our mental draft, depth chart projections that mean absolutely nothing. I will say that he is absolutely on the roster, the active roster. He's going to make the 53 with how good of a training camp he has had. Now he could implode and drop 6 passes in the preseason. I don't see that happening, but especially with some of these injuries, he has been able to step up. Today, him and Gabe Davis were pretty much the focal points for Josh Allen. Cole Beasley was also kind of resting a little bit. So like there is a connection with Kumaro and Allen. And I am usually not one of the guys that gets all hyped up about things. I'll just kind of be honest. Like Kumaro's fighting for some playing time. Like if he keeps practicing like this and turning in these kind of days, like Sean McDermott called him a glue guy along with Justin Zimmer. Like he's a guy that is not only just fighting to make, like not only fighting for a roster spot, he's done that. I really think he's fighting for a couple of snaps a game. And again, 6'4", fast guy. Like he could be a red zone target as well. So I think he's jumped ahead of Isaiah Hodgins, Mike.
Oh, yeah. I think there's no doubt. And I would say this, there's a difference between Kumaro and when we look at other guys who do well in a camp, he has done it in the NFL.
Yep.
He's done it with the Packers. I mean, he had a touchdown for the Bills in Denver last year. Okay, that's great. But he's done it for Green Bay in real games with Aaron Rodgers looking for him. So there is a level of
respect,
success. Yeah, he's done it. So it's not like, and he's not a kid. He's a guy that's been around. He knows who he is. And I'm with you, especially, dealing with anything going into the season. I think they'll have faith in him. I think they'll have faith in him, and he'll get a chance.
Well, when we were on the sidelines for the scrimmage, Mike, I think I said to you, it looks like Josh is always looking for Kumaro. Yeah. I felt like if you looked at Josh's eyes, just where he was going in his reads, it was like, okay. Which, I think Josh has done a good job building up a rapport, obviously, with all of his receivers. But that's huge for a guy like Kumaro to get that connection. And you know what that can do out on the field. So,
can't you just see Aaron Rodgers looking longingly into his monitor on a press pass, like NFL Game Pass, where he's watching all the plays, and he's going to see Kumaro running down, and Josh comes up with the handshake for him. No wonder Rodgers wants out of Green Bay. He lost his guy, and he's not going to get him back. He's going to stay in Buffalo.
It's like the meme where the guy, the superhero's looking at the frame photo. Wolverine's looking at the frame photo. Yeah. I will say, though, Aaron Rodgers getting to see Jake Kumaro in a couple weeks when the Packers come for the preseason game.
Yes. Well, he'll be on the sideline, and Josh will be on the other sideline. And heck, even that game, Jake might be on the sideline.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I guess we'll see. Any other players? You bring up Isaiah Hodgins. One of you did. I can't remember. But that's someone that I'm really curious to see in this game, because we really haven't seen him. I mean, he was drafted last year, obviously, got injured, didn't play at all last year. He's someone that is usually, when you think of a draft pick, you're like, okay, this guy is set to make the roster. But with how stacked the receiving room is, it makes for a little bit different. So Dan, he's got to feel that pressure.
Absolutely. Now, he's a guy that could be slid onto the practice squad. He's a practice squad candidate. I think as of right now, he would be on that team, and you would hope. I don't see any other team really making a move to put him on a 53. So that is something that I could see. But Jenna, going off that point, I look at a couple of most of that rookie class from last year. I look at and I'm going, it'd be nice to get a good look at Dane Jackson again, another full, more time on the field with reps, and AJ Epinesa. I imagine we'll see him some. And some of this defensive line that Mike and I have been talking about. I like the defensive line. I think there's depth. I think there are some tough decisions that will need to be made by Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier, because whether it's Vernon Butler, who's been dealing with a concussion, you look at Harrison Phillips, Justin Zimmer has had rave reviews from, what the things that Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier have said about Justin Zimmer were really very stunning. Just the fact that, he's earned the respect of his guys, all of those things that he's not forgotten in our eyes. And then again, to see a guy like Greg Rousseau, who didn't play last year, didn't play a college season. So it's going to be his first time in a helmet in nearly 2 years. Yeah. Boogie Basham. Some of these guys that I'm not saying they're going to be playing in the fourth quarter, but those are guys that I do want to see something from, because their tape is a while ago, or it's at this college level. So those are guys that I will be looking for, along with Spencer Brown.
Absolutely, especially Rousseau. The guy hasn't played. They're going to want him out there. I think he's going to get a lot of snaps in the preseason. So is Basham. These are the kind of guys. F.A. Obata, I know he's done it before, but he hasn't done it with this group. And he had more sacks last year than any guy on the Bills. I think we're going to see him. I want to see Saran Neal get a lot of snaps. I think this guy's physical ability is off the charts. And I think they're going to want to see, can he take that next step from special teams guy and fill in to a guy that if really needed, they can depend on. Those are the kind of guys I'm excited to see in the preseason. That's what it's there for. I mean, the criticism of the preseason is always, it's not like a regular game. I really do just get that out of my mind. The games, as I say, each snap in terms of importance usually becomes less and less for the game itself. It's more about getting these guys snaps. That's why it's great. We get excited for a scrimmage. Jenna and I were up there for the scrimmage. It's a scrimmage, let alone preseason, which is actual football. Just don't get focused on the score and all that stuff. Just watch these individual players play and see how they do. And then who wins the game? Nobody, you play to win, I get it, but nobody really cares. It's let's see these guys in this environment, give them a chance. I think that part is really interesting to see, and I'm looking forward to all those young guys on defense playing.
Mike, Jenna, as we're talking about this, I'm getting kind of excited. Like, I know in a really weird way. Like, ask me this in the third quarter. I'm like, with 3 minutes to go, and I'll be like, we're all good. We're all good. But I do want to see Wild Goose. I do want to see some of these other guys. The safety from Dane from Pittsburgh. Like, I do want to see some of these guys because it's like you kind of forget that like we didn't really see these guys in large numbers. So I after listening to this podcast and talking to you, I'm fired up for Friday to watch Mitch Trubisky and Davis Webb sling a football around. By the time it gets to Fromm, I'm probably good. I've probably had my fix of preseason football.
But then you want to see how that goes, just in general.
I gotta feel like I know how it's gonna go.
Yeah, no, yeah. It was funny. The Bills were doing red zone work earlier on last week, and it was like for the people, like training camp, sometimes they're very far away from us, or depending on what drill work they're doing. But they were doing red zone right in front of us, and it was like, ooh, football is back. Like, it was like, ooh, you know what I mean? So that will be obviously even more intense for Friday. And look, them playing another team, I know we can talk about it. Look, it doesn't matter. It's it's the preseason, but that is huge too, because I feel like we're kind of getting to this point in the preseason where it's like these guys have been going up against each other for 12 days. You know what I mean? Like, you start to learn personalities and personnel and stuff like that. So just to see what it would be like against another team, I think is hashtag a part of the process.
Mike, this is the time of the greatest preseason quote of all time.
From Rex.
Nope, not from Rex. From our boy, when you asked him the question.
Duke Williams? No. Who?
Yeah, the Duke Williams question, Mike.
Oh, contact.
I said, what are you looking for? And he said, contact.
He looked around. I'll have to tweet it tomorrow. It'll be my throwback Thursday tomorrow to tweet out. Mike goes, what are you most looking for? And he looks around. If you're watching this, if you listen to the podcast, he looks around. He's like, contact, pain. He's like getting physical. And you're like, oh my gosh, whoever is in charge of trying to block Duke Williams is in trouble.
Yeah. Well, here's the part about it. Is this why I want to say we go to camp. We're there every day. We're there for the scrimmage. And what are coaches trying to do? They're trying to create the competition. They're trying to make it like a game as best they can. These preseason games are like a game in terms of effort that the players are out there, right? It's the guys who are fighting. Rashad Wildgoose is out there playing like it is a playoff game, because for these guys it is. So they get to match up with another player. This is not a drill. Every part of this actually matters. The pass rush, the quarterback escaping, a missed call, whatever it is, matters. It's just like a real game. Score doesn't count. That's why I say just get past them. Most of you are smart fans. You're not really worried about the score. Would you rather see the Bills win than lose? Sure. Yeah, just watch these guys. Be looking for that as a fan, and I think you can enjoy it a little bit more than you would if you're just sitting there going like, they didn't throw the ball particularly well or whatever it happens to be. You see guys make a few plays. That's what you're going to want to see. You see guys compete. You see Boogie Basham and Greg Rousseau in the backfield. You're going to be pretty excited in a preseason game.
Okay, that's what I was going to say. Like, they've invested so much in this defensive line. I want to see and again, it's the preseason and it's a game, but I want to see if there's any flashes of what we expect. Because again, they have invested draft picks. They've invested a lot of money, Star coming back. Like, there's a lot of things that we talked about how important it is, because that was something that the Bills struggled with last year. So I'm excited to see that.
I completely agree with that point, Jen, because again, it is very hard to judge linemen and running in the running game in camp. It just really is. Like, I thought Spencer Brown got beat by Jerry Hughes today. He called it, his welcome to the NFL moment. But like, how do we know Jerry would have sacked him? Because eventually he gets by him and then he stops. And you're like, what would have happened? Like, well, I don't know what would have happened. Or like things like that. So again, where some people have asked us, how does Spencer Brown look? How does this person look? I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say like, oh, he had 8 out of 10 blocks. So they're all great. It's very hard to judge. Yeah. So that is where it'll be interesting.
I think we get a little clue. Players are I won't say they're pretty honest about their teammates. a lot of times a guy might say, oh, he looks like a good player. There are times they go, wow, this guy as a rookie is really something. Like there has been, especially Spencer Brown on the offensive line, like guys are like, yeah, he's been really good. Like they know it. The D linemen know it. The other offensive linemen see it. So in that case, I think that's encouraging to hear, to Dan's point of judging what they're doing in camp. But now we got to see him do it on the field when the other guy, his goal is get to the quarterback and make you look bad. I mean, it's not Jerry Hughes in a little drill. This is a preseason or not. This is football. So that part I really want to see, and I want to see Mitch Trubisky run the offense. I want to see it. I want to see a quality backup quarterback, which I think he can be. So let's see what he does.
Let's see it. All right.
I think it's so funny because Mike's like, I think players are pretty honest about, and again, and I think to a degree, I think they can be honest in some respects, but I'll never forget just sitting here, was it 18 months ago, and New England's like, Jarrett Stidham looks like a star, and I'm like, he's not a star, that he's not even playing.
Well, that's New England. They lie all the time.
Well, yes, exactly. But to Mike's point, they're not saying Spencer Brown is, this great. They're saying he's big. You can feel him on you. His hands are good. Like they give you in-depth things about just what they're doing instead of being like, he's the best offensive lineman I've ever seen. That
but
point,
they know.
Yes,
they're all saying to themselves, let's see what the guy does when he walks on the field. Believe me, when one of those rookies is competing with a vet for a spot, his buddy in the locker room is saying to him, as much as they're all teammates, is like, let's see what this kid is when the lights go on. That's a test, and some guys, when that happens, they go one way or they go the other, and they all want to see it. And some rookies just jump right in and do it. Look at Gabe Davis. What were we expecting out of Gabe? We hadn't seen anything out of the guy. No preseason, limited views at practice. And he walked out there like a 5-year vet the first month of the season. So you just don't know until they actually play. And in this case, we're going to get to see him play in these preseason games.
Oh, yeah. First preseason game of the summer on Friday. Make sure to tune into Buffalo Plus for all your Bills coverage. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Be sure to download the podcast wherever you listen to it. Like, comment, and then also we started an Instagram. So it's Buffalo Plus _. You can follow us there. We post our content as well. So it's literally all Bills all the time.
Yeah,
all the time.
I'm really happy. We really are. Jenna says it all the time, and it's for all of us. We really are thankful to the subscribers, but you guys have been very supportive. We appreciate it. We read your comments. We do. We appreciate it. We follow everything. We try to put the type of content you want to see. And we think we've done a pretty good job. We're constantly evolving is what we want to do. And, that's our plan for this year. And you guys as Bills fans are a huge part of it. And tell other people about it, too. If you like it, the more the merrier.
Yes. And I just quickly want to clarify. So when we post our press conferences, we have those captions up just because we're really not allowed to mic up the other reporters in terms of just the way everything would be laid out. So that's why we have the captioning. Mike's done a great job with that. But if we could at least
follow.
Yeah, exactly. If we could mic everyone up, we would, but that's obviously not an option for us.
But you can follow, at least kind of what the question was. And you guys are smart. Once you hear roughly what they're talking about, you'll pick it up really fast.
Absolutely. So we appreciate all the understanding with that. And as always, like Mike said, and I know Dan feels the same way, we have so much fun with this. And we just really appreciate you all following along and being as engaged as you are. So thank you so much. For Mike and Dan, I am Jenna. That is my name. We'll catch you next time on the Buffalo Plus channel. Be sure to like and subscribe and have a great rest of your day.